All right. Let's see. Okay, bye.
Okay, let us begin our metta. Today I have a special announcement. One of my dear friend's wife died day before yesterday, and my friend was a tremendous help to us when we were building Bhavana. He did a lot of voluntary work. He's a builder, carpenter, plumber, and all these skills he has. So his wife gave him full support to come and help us. Now she passed away. Today we want to dedicate our marriage to her, and let us begin with our metta. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought, let us begin our mindfulness meditation. Let us pay total undivided mindful attention, noticing the breath touching our nostrils, expanding our chest area and lower abdominal area. As we breathe out, the abdominal area, chest area contract, and we feel the breath leaving our nostrils. These are the three things that happen every time we breathe in and out. Also, along with this, we notice the breath rising and falling, feeling rising and falling, perception rising and falling, thought rise and falls, consciousness rises and falls. When they all rise and fall without stopping for even a nanosecond, the mind gets so used to letting go of any greed to hold on to anything, because we see it is a futile effort. So when the desire or greed temporarily fades away, and then the body and mind are relaxed, the breath is relaxed. In the relaxed state of mind, resentment, uptightness, rigidity fades away, and that place will be taken by the feeling of metta. So when metta arises, we become even more calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Our restlessness and worry fade away, where compassion will arise, when we are full of letting go, metta and karuna, we get even more energetic to continue our practice, seeing our own positive results. So that way our sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. And after that, we see all these wholesome, beneficial results. Then our doubt fades away. When the doubt fades away, then the mind becomes very calm, relaxed, and joyful. The joyful feeling leads to happiness. Happy state of mind leads to tranquility, passaddhi, that leads to concentration. They happen in this way until we gain concentration. Concentration also is not some negative, static, inactive state. In the concentrated state of mind, we see the subtlest changes, what we call impermanence, taking place in a very rapid speed. Impermanence of our feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness, and the breath. They change at very high speed, which is undetectable at any time. But when we gain concentration, concentrated state of mind can see this reality as it is. That is why the Buddha said concentrated mind sees things as they really are. Samahitang chittang yatha bhutam pajanati is the Pali sentence that Buddha used. Concentrated mind sees things very clearly. When we see this rising and falling, appearing and disappearing in the subtlest form, our notion of self or soul will fade away, because in the light of this kind of very rapid change, there cannot exist any minutest object without changing. Everything is changing, everything is appearing and disappearing. Appearing and disappearing is called anicca or impermanence. Impermanence is not of something that exists. Impermanence is the rising and falling, something that was not there before arises, and that thing that is arisen passes away. What is passing away is what is arisen, not what is there because there is no any object fixed. And this reality is very important for our spiritual growth. With this, let us continue our practice. Dukkhapattaca nidukkha, bhayapattaca nibhaya, sokapattaca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta thought in mind, let us focus our attention on the answers to these questions that Brian will ask me.
Okay. Bhante, first question just came via the Zoom chat here. Dear Bhante, yesterday you explained the difference between overcoming fetters and overcoming hindrances. Could you please elaborate on this?
Overcoming hindrances and overcoming fetters.
Right.
Talk about hindrances. Hindrances we overcome by knowing, understanding their arising. Actually, in next discussion, we are going to have hindrances themselves. Yesterday we discussed only the way how mental states, some of which can be hindrances, and how they arise and how they how first we have to identify them and then isolate them. For instance, when greed arises, we know that the mind is with greed. That is how we identify it. When the mind is free from greed, we know that there is no greed in the mind at that time. Now, here we have to use various things to deal with them. First of all, we remain mindful and use our mindful reflection, yoniso manasikara, meaning keeping the mind focused on the state of mind. And then, as we are mindful, this state, greedy state arises. Then with the yoniso manasikara, with mindful reflection or wise reflection, we recognize this is greed. And then we try that greed is arisen, and this greed is arising when I am unmindful. If I remain mindful all the time, the mindfulness would not allow the greed to arise. So in this situation, we have to use fourfold effort. first effort, when we stay mindful, we keep that effort in mind. That means let any unarisen, unwholesome mental state not arise in my mind. With this intention, with this effort, this is a very special mental energy to prevent any greed from arising any time. We can continue that. When we do that, if however due to our habits, because we have seen, heard, smell, tasted, and touched, and thought trillions of things in our life, it is possible for greed to arise. We mentioned, we are going to discuss also later in the Dhamma Anupasana, reflection on Dhamma, how greed arises in 60 places. And therefore it is very, in other words, we are so vulnerable for greed to arise. We are so susceptible. Then because of that we keep very alert, mindful, we continue practice like that. And then if the greed arises, however, due to our habits, then time we use the second kind of effort to overcome that greed. We have to overcome the greed by knowing that this greed is just it is very harmful. It does not give me any peace, happiness. When we so we let it go, and in order to do that, perhaps we may have to think of non-greedy mental state. How peaceful, how wonderful the non-greedy state is. So it is just like a carpenter who is using nails to nail something, and sometimes a nail can get stuck. At that time, he will use a very fine nail to remove the big nail. That means he may be making the hole little around the big nail. Using small nail, he make more room around the nail so that he can pull that nail out. So he learns how to remove the big nail using small fine nail. Similarly, when the greed arises, we use a state which is not greedy to overcome that. Then take a deep breath and say, oh, I'm glad that it is gone. Then with that, then you maintain, try to develop that state of not having greed. I'm using the using one mental state, greed. Of course, that applies to hatred, delusion, and so forth. This is an example. When that greed is not there, you try to cultivate that mental state with mindfulness and then repeat that again and again. So this is the fourth effort. These four efforts by name are prevention, samvara, second is bhavana, meaning abandoning, third is cultivating, developing, that is bhavana, fourth is repeating it, protecting it, safeguarding that particular state is called anurakkhana. These are the four types of effort that we have to apply. Prevention, that is restraining, and then overcoming, then developing wholesome state, and then maintaining it. These are very practical states. Uh, that is how we have to overcome that particular mental state. Now, I was not talking about the elimination of all of them. These are temporary measures to overcome that particular mental state. And then, uh, if hatred arises, we use the same techniques to let it go. You may use the same way, the seeing the danger of that particular mental state. We are trying to spend time, a lot of time, to free the mind from harmful mental states, and therefore when this happens, you got to advise yourself. Becoming human is not easy. Now that I'm a human, finding an opportunity to practice Dhamma is very difficult. Now I found that moment, and Dhamma itself, right Dhamma, Sad Dhamma, also is not always available. Now I am listening to Sad Dhamma, right Dhamma, and I am healthy now. Before I fall sick, I must use this healthy state to continue my practice, and so forth. Keep advising yourself in various ways to get rid of that mental state. And moreover, when certain mental state like this arise, you see this particular state is impermanent. It is not permanent, like everything else. Therefore, practice impermanence, which is very, very important, maybe of all of them. Impermanence is a very effective way of understanding impermanence, is a very effective way. Or, as we mentioned yesterday, just like you are in a certain posture, say you are running. When you run, you might feel tired, then you might think, why should I run? Why not I walk? So when you start walking, and then you get tired of walking, then you think, why should I walk? Let me stand. So you stand. After a while you are tired of standing. Then you sit down. When you sit down, after a while even sitting is so hard and boring, then you lie down. when you lie down, you can totally relax. Similarly, we use various methods, techniques to overcome gross states of that particular mental state. For instance, when greed arises, it comes sometimes in a very gross form. When you have gross form of greed, it is more painful. Uh, you are so what you call covetous, so you reduce that, and slowly you will see your mind settles down and the greed fades away. So these are the some techniques that we have to use to overcome that particular mental state. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. Question to Most Venerable Bhante. If there is no self, but only nama rupa, who performs the karmic action and who inherits the vipaka? How does the kama exist in time and linked to vipaka?
I think that is a very important philosophical question. Yes, if you say the question itself is has to be reworded because if you say if there is no self, who implies some existing being. Now we have been talking all along that everything is in a state of flux, changing, moving. Now, sometimes people think that either I commit karma or somebody else commit karma for me, or we both get together and commit karma, and or things happen without any cause, fortuitously. Things happen. All these are extremes, all these are wrong views. Therefore, the Buddha's way is very practical. He said there is no one that commit karma. Karma exists. There is no one that bear the fruit of karma. Karmasya karako nati vipakasya ca vedako. That means there is no doer of karma, no one who bears the fruit of karma. But Suddha Dhammang Pavastanti. Pure Dhamma of phenomenon exists. That means when something arises, something happens. Imasmin sati idang hoti. Buddha gave this example to prove how karma works when conditions are ready. When conditions exist, karma exists. When conditions exist, the results exist. When the conditions are not there, results are not there. So, entire our existence is causally related phenomenon. There is no one who commits karma, there is no one who bears the fruit of karma, but depending on certain conditions, certain things happen, and then due to that certain results appears. And that is how the karma works without central authority called self. Your question is, as I said, philosophical questions. Without a permanent self, you may think there may not be somebody that to bear the fruit of karma. Doesn't have to have a permanent entity to bear the fruit of karma. Just because karma is impermanent, the fruit is impermanent. If the fruit is not impermanent, you can never end karma. So the karma is impermanent, fruit is impermanent, and therefore we the particular entity called a person or I or you, uh, following the true Dhamma, uh, train the mind to understand this and let go of the clinging, craving, attachment to any particular permanent entity. That is how we uh, use these aggregates or these five entities, uh, these composites, components, to end samsaric suffering. So there is no one who suffers, no one is there to cause suffering. Because of the causes and conditions come together, there is another phenomenon called suffering. So I have to answer the question in this very abstract form, abstract way, because the Buddha said this is a pure existence of pure phenomenon. There was a story of a monk. That monk, when he was walking in a forest, some thieves, bandits, caught him and wanted to kill him to sacrifice to certain deity. They believe that there is a certain wealth hidden in certain places. In order to dig that wealth out, they have to make a human sacrifice. So these thieves were looking for this treasure to dig out, found this monk. He was an enlightened monk walking. So they caught him and tried to kill him. This monk simply stayed just as if there was nothing happening. Seeing him in this calm, composed, peaceful state, the chief of the thugs asked him why was he so calm and peaceful in the face of impending death. The monk said, there was not one existed in the past, there will not one will exist in future. Even now there is no one existing. Pure Dhamma is processing. So where should there be any reason for fear? And the thugs was so impressed with this very short statement of the monk, and they gave up the greed or delusion to kill this monk and to get the hidden treasure. So this is sort of a famous story. Therefore, when one understands this nature, the person, so-called person, live peacefully, die peacefully, without having any fear or hesitation and greed, hatred and delusion and so on. And therefore, the karma is committed due to causes and conditions. When the causes and conditions are over, there is no karma, no person, then the person, that entity has attained total liberation. And especially karma is something, one of the most difficult things to understand. So I try to make it as simple as possible. Perhaps I can give a series of talks later on karma, but since you asked me this question, I think this answer for this question may be enough.
Thank you, Bhante. It was a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is less philosophical in nature. Bhante, are mental formations the same as volitional formations?
Right. Mental formations. Mental formations is called Chitta Sankara in Pali. When we use the word Sankara, volitional formation also is Sankara, Chitta Sankara. Chitta Sankara is Sanya Vedana, perceptions and feeling. These two must be present in order to commit any wholesome or unwholesome commitment called karma. And therefore, that is sankhara, that is volition, that is karma. That is why the Buddha said, Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami, chintitva bhasati, kammang karoti, etc. Because I say, thought, intention is karma, and that also is called sankhara. Yes.
Bhante, someone just wrote that they would like a further discussion about karma.
Yes.
So maybe we can have that as a
Now,
topic in the
that
future.
is the side issue. We are, our central theme in this series of talks is Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Now we are in the third establishment of mindfulness out of 4. One more remains, that is Dhammanupassana. Dhammanupassana has even more details, more subtle details. And when I finish Mahasatipatthana, I certainly will be happy to start the series of talks on karma. I don't want to abandon that halfway. It is not right to change horses in midstream. So let us finish this stream, this trend, this theme, and then we will start the next series. Okay?
11 o'clock on the dot.
All right. So now, friends, we want to end this talk this morning. Once again, I want to wish my friend who was a tremendous help to me when I was building this meditation center. And his wife, of course, was a wonderful lady, and she passed away. So he may be still in grief-stricken state. So he may not listen to this because he may not have an access. He himself is not in a very clear state of mind this time, not have any access to internet, but even though he does not hear all this, I want to express my gratitude to him, extend our metta to him, and wish him peace and happiness, liberate from grief, and eventually attain Nibbana. So, friends, other people who are suffering from COVID 19, suffering, taking treatment in hospitals, may they recover very quickly and return to normal health and continue their Dhamma work and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. And those doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs who are very compassionately taking care of these people may continue their service, compassionate service, and will be free from any disease and attain liberation. There are other friends who also have lost their loved ones. They have been grieving. We hear very often nowadays death of some of our friends. Some are known people, some are unknown acquaintances, and so forth. They are, may they be free from their grief and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. Many leaders who have been doing some wonderful work, in spite of some difficulties they encounter, let them continue their noble work. And some other leaders who also have been resisting to certain measures, and unfortunately they need more help to continue their service. May they have courage, understanding, determination, patience, insight to make right decisions for the benefit of everybody. Thank you for coming and participating in this session. Tomorrow we will continue. We will start Dhammanupassana, and we will do as much we can do. Thank you.
Bhante,